Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. Today I wanted to create a video because I had a subscriber ask about what is the best hospital in Houston? Where should I move if I move to Houston? And so I decided to create a quick video to kind of go ahead and answer those questions for you. So first things first, before we look into what is the best hospital and the different areas that you can live in Houston, let's think about how to first get the job, right? That's super important. And you really want to prepare before you go ahead and you start looking at hospitals, get all your ducks in a row. After you've already, let's say you're out of town and you apply for your Texas license, now it's time to go ahead and apply for the job. So my number one advice for any new grad nurse out there is going to be to apply for and look for nurse residency programs. I myself actually went through a nurse residency program back in Florida, and it was a really great transition or way to transition from nursing school into being a registered nurse. Usually they have different resources for you and mentors and seasoned nurses that can kind of help with guiding you into helping new grad nurses to becoming more skilled and confident about being a registered nurse. Because let's just say it's safe to say that just because you go to nursing school doesn't mean that first day of work you're going to be as confident as a nurse that has been working for 5 to 10 years. So nowadays I find that most new grad nurses do actually start off in a residency program, and I would definitely recommend for any new grad nurse to find a program with a hospital that aligns to what specialty you want to go into. And that's another thing I want to bring up. A lot of times in nursing school, they'll tell you to do go into med surg because you'll be able to kind of see a little bit of everything. But I'm here to tell you that whatever specialty and whatever you want to do, you want to do that straight out of college. Because what I have found is at the beginning of my career, my specialty was actually oncology. I did that for a couple years before I transitioned into more of primary care pediatrics. But what I did find is after I had about 3 years of oncology experience, when I did want to transition to something else, it was so hard. So a lot of times what a lot of nurse recruiters are going to do is try to keep you in a box and keep you still working in jobs that are pertaining to what you initially started out in your career. So that's why I say, just my opinion, whatever you want to do, whether that's labor and delivery, pediatrics, if you get the opportunity to get a job in that specialty, you definitely want to go for it and take that job, because it's better to start off in the beginning than trying later on. At the end of the day, even if you don't start out in the specialty that you want to work in, that's definitely okay. What you'll probably have to do is just be more open-minded to move into different cities and different states that will allow you to gain that experience. A lot of times when you're applying for a job in a big city, it can be a lot harder sometimes and more competition when you're trying to get those specialty jobs, for example, such as pediatrics. Another thing I want to let you guys know is if you're moving out of state, whether you're a new grad nurse or a seasoned nurse, definitely ask a nurse recruiter about a moving stipend. So in my situation, when I was coming from Florida to Texas, I actually had the opportunity to the hospital that I was getting ready to work at, they provided me with a moving stipend. So they offered me about $5,000 that helped with moving, furniture, whatever I want to use the money for. It was given to me by the hospital, and it was not a sign-on bonus. So that's another thing, guys, that you want to be very well aware. Sometimes moving stipends come with a contract. And if you're not sure if you're going to want to work at this hospital for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you definitely want to make sure you can possibly get a situation where you don't have to have a moving stipend. You don't have to sign a contract for a moving stipend. But it is definitely helpful to be able to find a hospital that can give you money so it can kind of alleviate the financial burden of moving, which it is definitely expensive when it comes to moving out of state. Even if you do get a moving stipend, I would definitely still recommend for you to, for sure, save up money. because a lot of times the moving stipend is going to be given to you, maybe your second or third paycheck. It's not going to be given to you initially right before you move. It's going to most likely be given to you in installments in your paycheck. Another thing I wanted to bring up as well for new grad nurses, seasoned nurses, when you're looking for a job, especially out of state, a lot of times we're used to the pay that our state offers. So for example, when I was in Florida, at the time when I became a registered nurse, I believe the average hourly pay for a registered nurse was $21.75, which is significantly lower than what I make now. However, a lot of times you want to be very careful because you want to make sure the hospital and the nurse recruiter doesn't offer you something lower than what you're actually worth. So make sure you go on Glassdoor and go on those websites to see how much does a nurse make that has zero experience, new grad nurse. Look up what the going hourly rate is for a new grad nurse. Look up the going rate or hourly rate for a nurse that's been working for 5 years. Make sure you educate yourself so that when you go to the table, you know your worth and you know what you can negotiate with that nurse recruiter. Okay. And the last thing I want to bring up as far as preparing for applying for jobs, especially for new grad nurses, make sure before you come to the interview and you're here in person, you have created a portfolio with your resume that has been looked over by someone. Make sure you have references from your professors in a portfolio. You can go to Office Depot and get one of the portfolios that they have with the clear pocket so you can slide papers in. Make sure you have a copy of your license. Just make sure you have all your documentation so that it won't delay the process of you getting hired and being able to work your dream job. So now you're ready to kind of start looking at hospitals, right? The first thing I want to point out, I would like to say this. If you have your associates in nursing, I do want you guys to be well aware that most of the hospitals out here will require you at some point to get your bachelor's. So if you have your associates, no problem. You can definitely still get a position out here in Houston. However, they probably will require you to get your bachelor's within a year or two. And then within that time frame, if you don't get it, then they might have to let you go. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is you want to do your due diligence yourself and see which hospitals are magnet. Magnet is a recognition that once you have a hospital that you work for that is magnet status, a lot of other employees after that will, your value honestly will go up as a nurse once you have worked at a magnet status hospital. So that's definitely important to keep in consideration. Now, so the major hospitals out here in Houston, you have Methodist, you have Memorial Hermann, you have MD Anderson, and you have Texas Children's. And hopefully I did not forget any other major hospitals. You also have other outlying hospitals. So you have your HCA hospitals, and a lot of times the major hospitals will have hospitals throughout the suburbs. Okay, so to be a little bit more exact, we have a medical center here in Houston. So within the medical center, you have Memorial Hermann, Methodist, Texas Children's, MD Anderson. All these hospitals are pretty much in walking distance of each other or about 5 minutes from each other. So not far at all. Then you have, like I said, the other hospitals that surround and still in the medical center. But I do want to let you know, so let's say you want to work at Memorial Hermann. Memorial Hermann might have a location in the medical center, but they might have one also in the suburbs. So they might have a hospital in Katy. They might have a hospital in Cypress. They might have a hospital in Pearland. So Methodist might have 10 to 15, just to throw a number out. I don't know how many locations they have. They might have anywhere between 5 to 10 different locations that is under their umbrella. Now, at the end of the day, you want to, like I said, do your due diligence, whatever specialty that you are looking into, wanting to get into, you want to make sure you go to that hospital that is known for that specialty. For example, MD Anderson is a very well-known oncology hospital. They pay their nurses very, very well. I think most of the nurses that I know that have been paid top dollar work at MD Anderson, and they see some of the sickest patients pretty much in the nation. So if you know you want to be an oncology nurse, that is going to be where you want to go. With that being said, if you want to go into pediatrics, we have Texas Children's Hospital ranked #2 in the nation as one of the top 5 children's hospitals in the nation. So if you want to go into peds, that is going to be the hospital that you want to go to. Now, within Texas Children's, they have different specialties that they're known for. I think their #1 is cardiology. Like I said, do your due diligence, research, and look for yourself. So if you want to do peds, once you get a job at Texas Children's, you can pretty much work in any pediatric facility. They're always going to want you because you have TCH on your resume. So what is the best hospital? So, that's kind of hard, guys, for me to answer that question, because I've worked at my hospital previously when I first moved here, right? And right now I work in a small clinic. So I have a lot of friends that have worked at Memorial Hermann. I've had friends that worked at Methodist, and I've had friends that worked at Texas Children's. But based on my research, Google.com told me that Methodist is #1, the #1 adult hospital to work for. So honestly, I've heard really great things about Methodist from the people that have worked there. I know their pay is very competitive. You're going to get paid top dollar. But with that being said, guys, all the hospitals here are great. There really isn't, I can't really say this will be the one to work out. This will be the one. So according to, my research, Methodist is #1, but I've heard also really great things about Memorial Hermann as well. So just keep that in mind. The last thing I want to talk about is where to live as a registered nurse if you have major way out here. So at the end of the day, let me just say this. The traffic is horrible out here. We definitely have a lot of accidents on a regular. So if you're not used to a lot of traffic and you're coming from a smaller town, I'm going to say live in the medical center. So when I first moved here, I did actually get a place in the medical center, lived there for 4 years, and I actually currently still live in the medical center. So I probably, as long as I'm working as a nurse, I will live in this area because it is just so convenient. I'm never really in traffic. If I am in traffic, it's nothing major that will mess up my whole day. Just to kind of give you a little insight, a lot of times the commute for most of my coworkers that do live in the suburbs is about an hour. Sometimes an hour and a half if there has been an accident. So that's an hour coming and an hour going back. So that's kind of something to think about. Like I said, a lot of these hospitals do have another sub-hospital in the suburbs. So if you are looking to live in a house and have a family and live in the suburbs, then I would kind of look into maybe going to the suburban area and see what they have to offer. So like I said, I would say initially coming out, live in the medical center. And also there are so many apartments, that are actually located right by the Metro Rail. So the Metro Rail is public transportation that actually runs throughout the city, and it runs into the medical center. So if you happen to get a place, and you do have to do your research, get a place in the medical center, you can, sometimes it'll be walking distance from the Metro Rail so that you don't have to park, because parking is really bad out here in the medical center. With that being said, another location that might be good if you want to take the Metro Rail is going to be downtown. So now downtown is going to have a lot of one-way streets. It's very city. So if you like the city life, if you're more of like a New York girl, or if you're coming from Florida, if you're from Miami or something like that, you might like downtown area. Some other areas that are really great are the Heights. A lot of physicians I work for and a lot of, or work with, and a lot of nurses that I work with live in the Heights area. A lot of nurses live in the Galleria area. Another area is Montrose. So those are kind of some of the areas that you can kind of look into. Another one is going to be Midtown. That's a very, very popular area for a lot of people still in their 30s, 20s and 30s, I would say. Young couple, still building. Midtown would be right kind of like in the middle. So you won't necessarily be totally in downtown. It's close to downtown, but you'll still kind of somewhat have like a lot of things going on, a lot of restaurants and things to do. You can walk to the grocery store and things like that. So if you want something that's a little bit more walkable and close to different areas, Midtown and downtown are going to be your go-to. The Heights now is going to be more of a suburban feel, but we're still in the city. So it's a little bit expensive in the Heights right now. So it really depends on what your budget would be, but it's very family friendly. You'll see more people walking their dogs and walking, in the strollers, pushing the strollers. You see a lot of that. So the Heights will be a little bit more family oriented. Now, if you're really looking to live in the suburbs, but you want to be close, then there's two areas that you might want to look into. You probably want to look into Pearland, which is going to be anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes out from the medical center, or Sugarland. Sugarland is another location that has a lot of beautiful homes, but it's still within that 20-25 minute drive to the medical center. So at the end of the day, guys, I would say definitely find a place that's close to your hospital so that you can kind of cut down on your commute and also less stress. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment below so I can know what more information I can share with you that you're interested in. Definitely subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.